full disclosure, the voice you are listening to now is artificially generated, brought to you by satisphonic.com. See the link in the description for more details. What is your go? To joke when somebody asks you to tell one? An Irishman walks into a bar and orders 3 pints of Guinness. He takes them to a table and takes a drink from each one, alternating cups until all of them are empty. He comes back the next week and does the same. 3 pints and takes a drink from each until they are all gone. The third time he comes in, the barman, curious, asks why he drinks like that. Oh, it's for my brothers. We live all over the world and don't get to see each other very often. Doing this feels like we are all together once a week. That's lovely, says the barman, and wishes him well. This continues for several years, and the Irishman becomes something of a celebrity as the story circulates among the other regulars, until one night the man comes in and orders 2 pints. A hush falls over the bar as they watch him take his drinks and continue alternating like always, but with a pint missing. The barman, who first asked him about the tradition, feels compelled to go over. "I'm so sorry for your loss," he says, pointing at the pints. Confused, the Irishman looks at him before laughing and saying, "No, we're all fine. I just gave up drinking. I love this one. I end it with, I gave up beer for Lent, but the other 2 didn't. My grandfather, born in Ireland, gave up beer for Lent, drank ale for 40 days. This is understated. Smart, brilliant. Good joke. Did you know that before the invention of the crowbar, crows just drank at home? There's 2 types of people, those that can extrapolate from an incomplete dataset. A sheep farmer has a talking dog. One day he asks it to get all his sheep into the pen. A little while later, the dog says, "Job's done. All 40 sheep accounted for 40. "I have 36 sheep, not 40, the farmer says. The dog replied, "I know. I rounded them up. I tell a similar one as the cowboy asked me if I could help him round up 18 cows. I said, that's easy. It's 20 cows." A man is walking through the woods when he finds a suitcase. Curled up under the suitcase are a fox and 4 cubs. He immediately calls animal control to report what he found.
"Oh no, that's terrible,"
says the animal control worker.
"Are they moving?"
"I dunno," says the man, "but I guess that would explain the suitcase." Ugh, that's like the 911 call joke. 911. 911, what the emergency? Caller, help, I've been shot. 911, okay, remain calm, have you been 11? Okay, remain calm, have you been shot? Caller, ooh, this is my first time. This took me embarrassingly long to get. I told my doctor I broke my arm in 3 places. He told me that I should stop going to those places. A cop came knocking at my door and said he was looking for a criminal with 1 eye. I told him if he used both, he might have better luck. Guy goes to the doctor, says, "Doctor, everything hurts. I don't know what to do." Doctor says, "Go ahead and touch your knee for me." Patient does it. "Ow, that hurts." Doctor, "Okay, now touch your wrist." Doctor, "Okay, now touch your wrist." Patient, "Ow, that hurts, doctor. Now touch your cheek." Patient, "Ow, that hurts." Doctor, "You have a broken finger." A man tells his doctor, "Every time I drink coffee, my right eye hurts really bad." The doctor replies, "Then take the spoon out of the cup before you drink." My very old grandmother once walked up to me and asked if I'd like some tea. I said sure. She said, "Well then, go and make it, and bring me a cup too," and walked away. A man walks into his son's room. He says, "Son, if you keep masturbating, you're going to go blind." The son goes, "I'm over here, Dad." The doctor says to the patient, "Sir, you really need to stop masturbating." "Why? Does it cause blindness?" "No, but I'm trying to examine you." What's the difference between a rectal thermometer and an oral thermometer? The taste. Doctor goes to write a note and pulls a thermometer from his pocket. He says, "Great, some asshole has my pen." What's the difference between a bartender and a proctologist? A proctologist only has to look at 1 asshole at a time. One day, a man is waxing the car with his son. His son looks up and says, "You know you can use a rag for this, right?" This one had me laughing for way too long. Do you know who've been through a lot of shit but are still together? My buttcheeks friend told me that one as I was going through a bad breakup. What's the difference between a hippo and a zippo? One's really heavy and one's a little lighter. A limbo champion walks into a bar. He was disqualified. What do you get when you drop a grand piano down a mine shaft? A flat minor. What do you get when you drop a piano on army barracks? A flat major. Took my kids to the zoo, and all they had was this little dog. It was a Shih Tzu. I'm not even sure you can call that a zoo. To qualify as a zoo, you need at least 2 pandas and a grizzly. That's the bare minimum. I met my wife while standing in line at the zoo, and she said that exact joke. We had a good laugh. Then she grabbed a broom and walked into the monkey cage. That's when I said, yep, she's a keeper. I bought my friend an elephant for his room. He said, thank you. I said, don't mention it. Why don't you find elephants hiding in trees? Because they're good at it. Cool. Why do elephants paint their tailnails red? So they can hide in cherry trees. Oh, rubbish. I've never seen an elephant hiding in a cherry tree. Roar! I know. Shows how good they are at hiding. A squirrel is sitting in a tree and feels it starting to shake. He looks down and sees an elephant climbing the tree. He yells down, elephant, why are you climbing my tree? Elephant says, I'm going to climb up there and eat some pears. Squirrel says, this is a pine tree, there's no pears up here. Elephant says, it's okay, I brought my own pears. A woman walks into a hardware store to buy a hinge. The salesman asks, do you want a screw for the hinge? Woman says, no, but I'll blow you for the toaster. Art in a stand-up routine about 40 years ago. What's the difference between an owl, a piano, and a fish? You can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish. What about the owl? Who? Did you hear about the guy that dipped his balls in a jar of glitter? Pretty nuts, right? I thought this joke was absolutely hilarious. I told it to my client once. I asked if heard about the guy dipping his nuts in glitter. He said no. Where was that? I completely blanked and forgot the punchline and said, Hobby Lobby, I think. Very long, awkward silence after that. Anyway, pretty nuts, right? After the long pause. That's how you stick the landing. Mine went, why do ducks have flat feet? So they can put out little fires. Why do elephants have flat feet? So they can put out the burning ducks. But while I tried to tell this joke when smoking out stoned, my buddy's answer to the first question was so they can waddle. I absolutely lost it and couldn't stop laughing until I was sick. Och, this is so much funnier than the actual joke. I'm stealing this now, my man. A man went to confession. Father, he confessed. It has been 1 month since my last confession. I had sex with Fanny Green twice last month. The priest told the sinner, you are forgiven. Go out and say 3 Hail Marys. Soon thereafter, another man entered the confessional. Father, it has been 2 months since my last confession. I've had sex with Fanny Green twice a week for the past 2 months. This time, the priest questioned, who is this Fanny Green? A new woman in the neighborhood, the sinner replied. Very well, sighed the priest. Go and say 10 Hail Marys. At Mass the next morning, as the priest prepared to deliver the sermon, a tall, voluptuous, drop-dead, gorgeous, red-headed woman entered the sanctuary. The eyes of every man in the church fell upon her as she slowly sashayed up the aisle and sat down right in front of the priest. Her dress was green and very short, and she wore matching, shiny emerald green shoe. The priest and the altar boy gasped as the woman in the green dress and matching green shoes sat with her legs spread slightly apart, but just enough to realize she wasn't wearing any underwear. The priest turned to the altar boy and whispered, is that Fanny Green? The bug-eyed altar boy couldn't believe his ears, but managed to calmly reply, no, Father, I think it's just a reflection from her shoes. A guy is sitting in a bar just getting absolutely hammered drunk. He gets so wasted that he throws up all over himself. He says to himself, oh man, my wife is gonna kill me. She just got me this shirt and here I am getting drunk in a bar and throwing up all over it. The guy sitting next to him says, buddy, relax. Take $10, put it in your shirt pocket, and when you get home, tell her that some other guy got drunk and threw up on you and gave you the $10 to get your shirt cleaned. The man says, oh my God, that's fucking brilliant. I'll do that. And he leaves the bar to go home. When he opens the door, his wife immediately starts laying into him. Oh my fucking God, you goddamn drunk. I just bought you that fucking shirt and you already ruined it. Look at you getting sick all over yourself. You're a fucking embarrassment. The man says, baby, please, it's not like that. Some other guy at the bar got drunk, and he's the one who threw up all over me. He even gave me $10 to get the shirt cleaned, and he gestures towards the bill sticking out of his shirt pocket. His wife grabs the bill and says, but this is $20. And the man says, Oh yeah, he also shit my pants. My dad told me this joke shortly before he passed away from cancer. He laughed harder than I think I've ever seen him laugh, which put us both in hysterics. Thank you for the reminder. He also told me the pirate one. Long ago, when sailing ships ruled the sea, this captain and his crew were always in danger of being boarded by pirates from a pirate ship. One day while they were sailing, they saw that a pirate ship had sent a boarding party to try and board their ship. The crew became worried, but the captain was calm. He bellowed to his first mate, "Bring me my red shirt." The first mate quickly got the captain's red shirt, which the captain put on. Then he led his crew into battle against the mean pirates. Although there were some casualties among the crew, the pirates were defeated. Later that day, the lookout screamed that there were 2 pirate vessels sending 2 boarding parties towards their ship. The crew was nervous, but the captain, calm as ever, bellowed, "Bring me my red shirt." And once again the battle was on. The captain and his crew fought off the boarding parties, though this time more casualties occurred. Weary from the battles, the men sat around on deck that night recounting the day's events, when an ensign looked at the captain and asked, "Sir, why did you call for your red shirt before the battle?" The captain, giving the ensign a look that only a captain can give, explained, "If I am wounded in battle, the red shirt does not show the blood, so you men will continue to fight unafraid." The men sat in silence. They were amazed at the courage of such a man. As dawn came the next morning, the lookout screamed that there were pirate ships, 10 of them, all with boarding parties on their way. The men became silent and looked to the captain, their leader, for his usual command. The captain, calm as ever, bellowed, "Bring me my brown pants!" Ah! They tell this joke in Game of Thrones, and it's great. Deadpool, too. I thought it was a little lame in the moment, just because I've heard that joke so many times before. But then he sees Colossus Juggernaut and goes, "I should have worn my white pants, and I fucking lost it, llama." Now that's a really good one. A pirate walks into a bar with a steering wheel in his pants. The bartender said to him, "Hey, you know you have a steering wheel in your pants?" The pirate replied, "Arix is driving me nuts." 2 fish were in a tank. One fish looks at the other one and asks, "Any idea how to drive this thing?" What's a pirate's worst nightmare? A sunken chest and no booty. Do you know a pirate's favorite letter? You'd think it was R, but his heart always belongs to the sea. It's really P. Without it, they're irate. What's the number 1 cause of dry skin? Towels. For Veterans Day, Mrs. Olsen invited a local YE veteran to talk about the importance of the holiday. So retired Captain Whitaker from the Army Air Corps comes to give a talk, and after explaining what Veterans Day is, he begins telling the children stories from the war. Over France, me and my squadron got ambushed by some Germans. There was flak everywhere. We had fuckers shooting us from the right, fuckers shooting at us from the left, fuckers shooting at us from the left, fuckers shooting at us from above, below and the rear. I'd never been shot at by so many fuckers at once. Understandably, the children are rolling with laughter, and Mrs. Olsen regains control of her class. After getting the children to calm down, she says to Captain Whitaker, "I'm sorry, Captain, but the children are laughing because they don't know that Fokker was a German aircraft company." Sure, but these fuckers were flying Messerschmitts. My grandfather killed over 150 Nazi pilots on wheel. He was the worst mechanic in the Luftwaffe. Why doesn't Oedipus use foul language? He kisses his mother with that mouth. That project was my Magnum Oedipus. Magnum Oedipus. Yay, it's a big motherfucker. What do you get when you cross an elephant and a rhino? Shrug your shoulders. Elephant. What do you get if you cross an octopus and a giraffe? A visit from the ethics committee and an immediate cessation of funding. You can shaggy dog this one as much as you like, but the shortest version is more or less. This man is in New York working too hard, just tired of life and his job. When he hears a voice, sell everything you own and go to Las Vegas. He ignores the voice for a while, but it's so persistent he eventually does just that. He gets to Las Vegas and he's waiting in baggage claim, and the voice says go to Caesar's Palace. So he goes to Caesar's Palace. He gets to the casino floor and the voice says go to the roulette table. So he goes to the roulette table. The voice says put everything you have on 29 black. After some discussion with the pit boss and the casino manager, they let him put everything he owns on 29 black. The wheel spins. It comes up 5 red. The voice says, "Shit!" Oh, my favorite shaggy dog. Boy asks a girl to prom, and she says yes. Needing a tux, he goes to the men's formal wear store, and of course there's a line. waits in the long line, and finally orders the tux. Next he needed a corsage, so he goes to the flower shop, and there's another long line. After waiting in the long line, he finally orders a nice set. Wanting to go in style, he decides to get a limo, and of course there's a line at the limo place. Waits around and they finally get to him, and he reserves the limo. You can extend by with other things like going out to eat. It's prom night. He arrives in his limo at prom with his pretty date with her nice corsage. They get to the gym, and there's a line to get in. After waiting in the long line, they finally get in, and his date says she's thirsty. There's no punchline. I'm as hungry as a guy who is bad at making analogies. A bear and a rabbit are taking a shit in the woods. The bear says to the rabbit, "Do you have problems with shit sticking to your fur?" The rabbit says no. So the bear wipes his ass with the rabbit. Totally stolen from Eddie Murphy. A duck walks into a bar and says, "Do you have duck food here?" The bartender says, "No," and the duck leaves. The duck comes back the next day and says, "Do you have duck food?" The bartender says, "No." The duck comes back the next day and says, "Do you have any duck food?" The bartender says, "I already told you, no twice. If you come back and ask me again, I'm going to nail your feet to the floor." The duck comes back the next day and says, "Do you have any nails?" The bartender says, "No." "Do you have any duck food?" Then he waddled away, waddle till the very next day. Bom 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 bom. Little boy. I'm named after my grandfather. Man. Oh, what's your name? Little boy. Grandpa. A widow goes to the funeral director to discuss the arrangements for her late husband's funeral. She says one of his final wishes was to be buried in a black suit. The funeral director looks at the corpse and says, "But Mom, he's already wearing a very nice navy blue suit. Are you sure we need to change it?" She responds, "Yes, I'd very much like to honor his final wishes." The director says, "Oka, please give us some time and we'll find him an appropriate suit." The widow drives home, and once she gets through the door, the phone rings. It's the funeral director. "Mom, we've had a stroke of amazing luck. We found the perfect suit. Are you able to come take a look?" She drives back to the funeral home, and the director shows her husband, now wearing a beautiful black suit. "It's absolutely perfect," she says. "I'm impressed. How did you find this amazing suit so quickly?" "I just left here 10 minutes ago. It was easy," he said. "By chance, we just had another client come in, and the deceased was wearing this incredible black suit. He was about the same size as your husband, so all we had to do was swap the heads. A guy dies with a huge boner, and the funeral director can't get the bottom half of the casket to close. He tries and then calls the guy's wife and asks what she wants to do. She says, "Cut it off and stick it up his ass." The funeral director says, "Why it?" The wife tells him again, "Cut it off and stick it up his ass." So the funeral director does it. Later at the wake, the wife is saying last goodbyes and notices a tear in her husband's eye. She leans over and whispers, "Hurts, don't it?" Skeleton walks into a bar. Bartender asks, "What will you have?" Skeleton says, "A beer and a mop." Ha! A seal walks into a bar and orders a whiskey. The barman says, "What kind? We have about 20. The seal thinks for a minute and says anything except Canadian Club. A sandwich walks into a bar. The barman says, "I'm sorry, we don't serve food." What did the bra say to the hat? "You go on ahead, he'll give these to a lift." A sandwich walks into a bar. The barman says, "I'm sorry, we don't serve food." Why did the bike fall over? It was too tired. I repeat this several times at completely random intervals to annoy my friend. That reminded me of one of my favorites. What's the difference between a man in a tuxedo on a unicycle and a man in overalls on a bicycle? A tire. Two whales walk into a bar. The first whale walks up to the bartender and says, "Can you making whale noises for as long as you like? Ideally 5 minutes. The second whale looks at the first and says, "God damn it, Steve, you're so annoying when you're drunk."